Okay, welcome to Imperialism and Policy, Section 4. That's going to be video 5 of the Unit 8 on the United States foreign policy and American imperialism. Remember, the imperialism definition that we're working with is a stronger nation taking over a weaker nation. The argument that we use for imperialism is, well, it's good for our economy. We have more people to sell goods to, and we have access to more resources. We also use the argument that it strengthens our military by giving us naval bases, which we can use to protect that trade that we are doing around the world. Also, we use the argument of nationalism. The United States is so great. Our beliefs, our culture needs to be spread around the world. It is our duty to civilize the rest of the world. And we saw some imperialistic action in the last video. But know and remember that not everybody wants the United States to use imperialism. The anti-imperialist argument is that it's not a good look for the United States. We shouldn't be challenging democracy. We founded this country on people participating in their government, and imperialism is not that. We are now forcing beliefs on people where we should be helping them be independent. But nonetheless, we are going to see more imperialistic actions today. Puerto Rico is when we got Puerto Rico in the signing of the Treaty of Paris following the Spanish-American War. Puerto Rico is awarded to the United States. It's given to us. Nobody in Puerto Rico makes this decision. It was given to us by Spain as a peace treaty. And it is awarded what we call the special status of a commonwealth. Puerto Rico is one of 5 U.S. territories, along with America Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands that have this status. People of these territories, except for America Samoa, are U.S. citizens, which means they pay federal taxes such as Social Security and Medicare, but not federal income tax, and they can freely travel within the United States because they're U.S. citizens. Much like the United States, these territories also have their own government with their own elected governors, but unlike the United States, they do not have a vote in Congress. They each send a delegate to the House, which means they have a representative in the House that has all of the powers of a representative other than voting rights, which means they have the ability to debate laws, legislation, and sit on committees, but they can't really make any decisions. These territories can also send representatives to political conventions, such as those that nominate the presidential candidates, but they don't get an electoral vote in presidential elections. They do not have that power. Despite their inability to vote on federal issues, Puerto Ricans have been U.S. citizens for over 100 years because we gained Puerto Rico as a commonwealth in 1898, and their government, or rather our government, has the same responsibility towards Puerto Rico and all of the people in it as they do with any other U.S. citizen, okay? Because Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. Just to clear that up. Another example of American imperialism is the construction of the Panama Canal. In 1903, there is a treaty that is signed, the Hay-Benoit-Varilla Treaty, that allows for the construction of the Panama Canal. This is going to be under the presidency of Teddy Roosevelt. Now, we send the Secretary of State John Hay down to sign a treaty to build the canal, but the financial terms of the original treaty were rejected. Now, Roosevelt is not happy about that, so he sends down warships to Panama City and Cologne in the Atlantic. So we have them surrounded on either side, on the Pacific from Panama City and on the Atlantic in Cologne. And we kind of push them to sign the treaty by saying, if you don't agree to let us build the Panama Canal, we're going to support Panamanian independence. Colombian troops kind of back down and they're like, okay, okay, okay. You can go ahead and build your canal. Panama can have their independence. And when Panama gets their independence, the Republic of Panama immediately says, we will build that canal. And the United States, under the treaty, agrees that we will pay a one-time payment of $10 million to Panama and an annual payment of $250,000 to Panama, all to guarantee that the Panama Canal can be built. The Panama Canal symbolizes the technological advances and economic power of the United States. And even knowing eventually we give the control of the Panama Canal to Panama, it was a major foreign policy achievement at the time, because instead of having to go all the way around South America to get to the other side, we can just cut through Panama. That's easy enough. We wanted that, we got it. So the Panama Canal is another example of the United States asserting our dominance over a weaker nation. Now, we have to kind of do an overview of the president's foreign policy approaches towards Latin America, and we start with Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt believed that we should threaten force and actually only use it in special occasions in order to prevent conflict. Now, this idea is known as speak softly and carry a big stick. And because of that quote, his foreign policy approach to Latin America is known as big stick diplomacy. And the idea behind this is that we would use this mentality to prevent European powers from attempting military action in Latin America, because we didn't want another Spanish-American War. Okay? We didn't want to have to help anybody fight for independence. We wanted to make sure that Latin America stayed independent and Europe left it alone. And the United States believes that we have the right to correct the wrongdoings in any weaker nation, and Europe doesn't need to be there. What this becomes known as, and you need to star this in your brain, you need to have this in there, is that it is the Roosevelt corollary. Corollary means correction, addition to the Monroe Doctrine, because it's the same idea. The United States is saying, Europe, stay out of Latin America, but now we're kind of adding the asterisk of, we'll use military force if you don't do it. Essentially asserting us as kind of a world police, that we will force Europe to do what we want. The Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. And the reason we're able to do this is because we defeated the Spanish in the Spanish-American War. Other presidents that follow Roosevelt kind of have different ideas on how we should approach Latin America. William Howard Taft, who replaced Roosevelt as president, no surprise here, he was supposed to follow in the footsteps of Teddy Roosevelt, but definitely does not. He replaces big stick diplomacy with what he calls dollar diplomacy. His goal was to increase American investments in businesses and do that throughout Central America and the Caribbean. And we would use our investments to get these places to be friendly with us. So literally dollar diplomacy, using money, using investments to convince allies to be our allies and saying, okay, well, we'll kind of prop up the governments of Latin America with our investments, with our business deals, as long as they trade with who we say, and as long as they cut us the best deals, and as long as they keep Europe out, then we'll keep investing there. We'll keep trading with them. Now, Woodrow Wilson is going to disagree with both Roosevelt and Taft. He's going to say we shouldn't be using money and we shouldn't be using force. Instead, he says we should use what's called moral diplomacy. He appoints William Jennings Bryan to his Secretary of State, the person who really is going to negotiate foreign policy around the world for the United States. And he says, we are not gaining any more territory by conquest. Instead, we're going to stay out of it. And just like the political cartoon there, Wilson's goal was to stay on the straight and narrow, not get into war, not intervene, but instead seek justice. And if somebody asks for our help, sure, we could do that. But we're not going to do it to kind of assert this dominance as we had done in the past. Instead, we're going to stick to the straight and narrow and do what's moral, do what's right. Now, next time we come together, we are going to intro World War I, do a little review, and move into what's the United States' place in World War I. Don't forget about your homework tonight and let me know of any questions.